Welcome to Chapter 4, Lesson 2 on the results of the Spanish-American War and the Roosevelt Corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. Last time we looked at what causes the war, B-U-R-Y, the causes of the Spanish-American War. It takes place mostly on the island of Cuba. Now looking at the results, what happens now? I'll let you copy those notes down. So first, Cuba gets its independence, which is the thing that most Americans wanted. They sympathized with the rebels, they wanted the rebels to be free from Spain, and that's what happens. However, we don't stop interfering. In fact, this whole lesson is kind of about how we reserve this right to interfere in South American, Central American, Caribbean countries when our interest is on the line. So Cuba gets to be independent, but we will get possession of Guam, Philippines, and Puerto Rico. And they will be U.S. protectorates and territories. The Philippines will eventually become an independent country today. Puerto Rico, Guam are still U.S. territories. At this time, we're also going to be, as a separate thing, taking places like Hawaii, Samoan Islands, Midway Island. There are places that we will make into U.S. territories. But all that stuff sets America up to be a world power. And that's what the U stands for. The U.S. becomes a world power. They become a world power because world power at this time, around 1898, is defined as having a strong navy, what we're going to call a big stick. There's a guy named Alfred Mahan writes a book about the dominance of naval power as a big stick, the thing that makes other people scared of you and pay attention to you and respect you. And so Teddy Roosevelt, as the Secretary of the Navy, pushes America hard to build up a strong navy. And that's what allows us to be a world power when you have these islands around the planet. So Guam, Philippines, Puerto Rico, those are both, all three of those are islands. It allows us to have a place to park the boats. Now that's going to set us up to turn the page. So turn the page. James Monroe, 5th President of the United States, he declares in his Monroe Doctrine, European powers need to stay out of our hemisphere, which means no more colonizing, no more creating new countries, taking over their countries, no more interfering in the Western Hemisphere. This is our hemisphere. Now, corollary means you take something that's true and you add on to that something that naturally follows from that. So it naturally follows that if other powers can't be involved in this hemisphere because it's our hemisphere, it naturally follows that this must be our hemisphere and we can be involved in it. If they can't, because it's ours, the corollary to that would be we have the right to interfere in our own hemisphere. That's the Teddy Roosevelt Corollary. The Roosevelt Corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. Teddy Roosevelt, after his success in the Spanish-American War, he fights in the war. He's charging up San Juan Hill in one of the most famous battles of this war. He's going to eventually become the vice president based on his popularity after the war. When William McKinley is assassinated, Teddy Roosevelt becomes the president. And he'll be elected after that in his own right too, but he's going to push for the United States to become more involved in world affairs, especially in South America and Central America. And he's going to push for that big stick of a strong navy. The Roosevelt Corollary to the Monroe Doctrine says that we have international police power. That means that we are the ones who are responsible for what happens here. If something goes wrong, if there's somebody being harmed, if there's injustice, we are the police of the Western Hemisphere. We have the right to do what we think needs to be done. Now, who's the authority over the United States? We don't recognize one. We said, kind of like Superman. Superman decides what he wants to do, and nobody tells him what he's supposed to do. The United States is the international police power for the Western Hemisphere. We decide what we want to do, what we think is right. Now, when can we use that police power? We can use that police power whenever it's in our economic interest. Whenever we decide our interests are on the line, our money is at risk, and we reserve that right to interfere. So we have international police power. We have the right to use it when our interests are on the line. And again, what is the power we're using? It's the big stick. And I keep coming back to this because this is a big thing for Teddy Roosevelt. His motto was speak softly and carry a big stick. That means you can be polite, you can be nice, but you have to have that strength of the big stick. And the big stick, again, is a strong Navy. So Teddy Roosevelt, speak softly, carry a big stick. That Navy will be deployed throughout the Western Hemisphere and will also be used to create new countries like Panama. And we help to create that country so that we can dig a canal that goes through Panama. And that canal is still in use today. It's a big part of our economy because if you're in a boat from the Pacific Ocean, you save a lot of time and money if you can cut through and not have to go all the way around South America. So you save time, you save money. That's what America is trying to preserve. So in the name of American businesses, we help create this country of Panama to create the Panama Canal. That's begun by Teddy Roosevelt. And it's a very costly enterprise. It involves many people dying to build it, but it's a thing that we still use today as a big part of business in the Western Hemisphere. And all that is done by Teddy Roosevelt. So now America is being set up as a world power, which is going to lead eventually into our next lesson on World War I. So as things start to happen over in Europe with European powers, we are now set up where we have an economy that goes all the way around the world. We have markets around the world. We have resources coming in from other places. And so when a world war happens, it's hard to stay neutral in that. But we'll get to that next lesson. All right. Bye, guys.